Welcome to the Halliwell Manor. I'm Max.
And I'm Tina.
And we're here to discuss Season 6, Episode 8 of Charmed.
Sword and the City.
Okay, so this is not a good or honestly fun episode of Charmed, but it does introduce one of my favorite running gags. So
The fact that Wyatt is technically the King of England.
yes, the fact that within the universe of Charmed, Wyatt Halliwell is the true King of England.
I was actually thinking about this because we have a small child.
Yes.
And I have been taking her to the movies.
Mm-hmm.
Which means that we have seen the Minions movie a few times because they played it over the summer.
Yeah.
And also she watches at home. And the minion Bob is also technically the King of England. And I started wondering how many movies and TV shows have used that as a premise.
You know who else is the true King of England?
King Richard from Gallivant.
Yes. Also Xena.
All right.
Of course, Xena also delivered Jesus, so she's done a lot of stuff.
No, she's got her hand in everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
So Charmed.
The episode opens on... Okay, I feel weird to say this because he's kind of a nothing guy, like he's fine, but I actually really like Paige and Richard together.
I like him too. And I do not like... I know this is your least favorite trope, and I also do not like it. This whole weird magic is addiction thing that they have going on with him that is out of nowhere.
Yeah, this has not been a thing with him recently, but the two of them walk post-coitus into the kitchen, and only for Paige to immediately trip over Piper, who is trying to repair the sink.
Yeah, okay, I feel like this is... She's under the sink trying to fix it because it's clogged, right?
Mm-hmm.
And okay, I don't know. It just feels really resonant for me because you know who used to be under the sink fixing things?
Leo.
And now he's gone because he's busy off being an elder. So Piper's stuck here doing like the single parent thing where she has to take care of every single thing.
Is she doing the single parent thing? Leo seems to be in the house pretty frequently.
I mean, from Piper's point of view, she is.
Why did they even separate? But not to beat a dead white lighter over and over again, but like, come on.
All white lighters are dead white lighters.
That is true.
Look, on the one hand, I feel like it's really well done that they have Piper kind of underneath the sink the same way Leo was, and it's like it just highlights Leo's supposed absence. But at the same time, Piper is such a martyr. Like, she has so much support, and she's like, oh, my life is so hard. Even though my husband is a literal god that I can call upon at any moment to, like, take the child away when he's not plot relevant.
Also, like, you can just call a plumber. I mean, I feel like money being an issue isn't really a thing so much anymore now that Phoebe is the super rich Ask Phoebe.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't even thinking about that.
Money was occasionally an issue sometimes in the earlier seasons, but I feel like that isn't really a thing anymore.
It definitely shouldn't be. Yeah. And it used to be, oh, the club is our only source of income, so I have all of this pressure to be a mom and to run the club and to be a witch and save the world. But now the club is going. We've got to ask Phoebe. Paige has her temp jobs that are bringing her to different magical locations. Like, yeah. Yeah.
So Richard offers to
You know what Piper needs?
What?
Piper needs to calm down.
Yes, Piper does need to calm down. Richard offers to look at the sink, and Piper's like, oh, if you think that you can fix everything that's going wrong, sink's not sinking, cable's not cabling, microwave's not miking. It's like, okay, this is life, Piper.
I know, right? So, he uses magic to fix the sink, kind of, flashback to Leo using magic to heal the pipes.
Yeah, and Piper's really weird about it, which I guess makes sense given...
Well, remember, using magic for personal gain is bad if anyone who is not one of the two older charmed ones does it.
It's weird they don't bring up the personal gain thing here. Instead, much like Cole, he kind of has do anything powers, and much like Cole, everyone's constantly freaking out about it. Although it makes way less sense here because, like, with Cole, he was using demonic powers, and it's dumb, but in the universe of Charmed, using evil powers makes you evil, even if you're not using them for evil deeds. But he's just a witch. Like, using his powers is a personal gain thing, which is bad, but, like, they're treating it like he's going to turn evil if he uses his powers, which, no? Where did this idea come from?
It does not make any sense. Like, I know you hate the trope in general, and I hate it here because it doesn't make any sense here.
Yeah, like, this is a witch show. People should be using their powers. I mean, I don't like that they gave him generic do anything powers, which a lot of people seem to have in this show.
I'm fine with it. Especially because he comes from a magical family. If anything, this should be a situation where he can just magically do anything. It's just that he has a lot less power than the Charmed ones.
I mean, if he had, like, an amulet of home repairs that, you know, he whips out.
Well, I think he should have... I think it would be kind of a cool thing if he had a lot more skill, because he comes from a family of witches and has been learning it since birth.
Yeah.
And whereas the Charmed ones have all of this raw power. And that would be a really cool contrast.
That would have been a really cool contrast.
But no, that's not where we're going with this. Not at all. Not even a little bit.
Yeah, Phoebe walks into the room and she's like, "Oh, Richard, what are you doing here? Paige's boyfriend? Well, what do you think he's doing here? Come on."
He's plowing Paige.
And Piper's like, "He's fixing the sink with magic."
Oh my god.
And Phoebe acts like Piper just said, "Oh, he was stomping puppies to death."
Every episode of Charmed that we watch just makes me more and more Team Paige.
Yeah, I'm normally a Team Piper guy. And honestly, the fact that she flip-flops on Phoebe when Phoebe's angry about this later in the episode, I kind of love. The fact that she's throwing shade at Richard for using magic, and then later in the episode when Phoebe decides, or, you know, when she realizes that Phoebe has decided it's a bad thing, she's like, who gives a shit?
It's funny to me that you like Piper so much, because you know who Piper is the equivalent of?
Mary Margaret.
Mary Margaret.
The
Mary,
worst.
quite contrary. She will take any position that is the opposite of the position you just said.
Yes, that is accurate. I think I like Piper more than Mary Margaret because Piper is... I'm trying to think of a non-sexist way to say this. Way more upfront about being a bitch.
Wow.
I mean, I love Piper. She's a hard ass. She's mean. I love mean characters. The thing about Mary Margaret is that she was simpering.
We are unabashed in our love for Regina.
Yeah. Who is the ultimate, I shouldn't have said the word, but I'm not taking it back now. She is the ultimate version of that. She is a very, very mean woman. And this is a household that loves mean women. I feel like I can say that.
Yeah, no, we love Regina. We loved Aaron's son and Farscape.
I think Aaron's son was more of an asshole than a...
She was an ass kicker.
Mm.
Yeah, she was... Yeah, no, we do love us a dark-haired mean woman.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, Piper goes to grab her toolbox to fix the other 7,000 things that are going wrong in the house. And Phoebe pulls her to the side and is like, didn't Richard lose it last time he used magic? Like, really lose it? Which... No. Legitimately, what are you talking about?
Yeah, it's weird, right?
Like, Richard didn't have this weird dark turn or anything. Like, you were mad at him for doing the, like, what was it, ghost summoning last episode? But, like, Richard didn't in any way really lose it. What the fuck is Phoebe talking about?
Yeah, it's weird. It's almost like there was, like, a cut episode or something.
Yeah. I don't get this.
I don't either.
It feels kind of like, I mean, we are clearly cribbing from the Cole stuff here. It feels a lot like the Cole thing, where their attitudes towards Cole shifted really heavily apropos of nothing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yes, yes. Okay, what's the opposite of a time freeze?
I in what direction?
Phoebe is getting ready for her Zoom date.
Oh, flash forward, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, she does have to explain what a Zoom date is to Piper. And also, it's not Zoom, because Zoom doesn't exist yet.
Yeah, she's like, we're having an internet video date, and Piper's like, what's that? And Phoebe does not say, what do you think it is, Piper? From the 3 words I said, what do you think it is?
Yep.
But she's like, that doesn't matter, though. Aren't you concerned about Richard? And Piper's like, no. And she leaves, which, good. Don't humor this anymore.
So she goes upstairs, Piper goes upstairs to fix the bathroom sink. All of these sinks are clogged with standing water.
Like, what?
Because it's the Lady of the Lake.
I
The
guess.
Lady of the Lake magically caused their sinks to be stopped up so that there would be standing water, so that she could appear to Piper in the upstairs bathroom sink in one of the worst CGI After Effects looking pieces of special effects that the show has ever done.
It's pretty bad. Yeah, Piper looks at this thing and she's like, maybe I could use a little magic. And then this terrible CGI head pops out and she's like, I'm the Lady of the Lake and you need to help me. And here are the coordinates to, help me. And they all orb to the...
This is, by the way, this is Piper's payback for, this is her personal gain consequence. She tries to use magic for personal gain and now she has to do her job.
So, the sink lady gave them precise instructions as to which lake, or technically in this case pond, to teleport to. And Paige is like, are you sure it's not a trap set by a demon? And Piper's like, demons don't ask for help, which, I mean...
I feel like we have had demons ask for help.
No examples come to mind off the bat, but I think that's happened before.
Anyway, the Lady of the Lake.
She...
Her arms clad... Anyway.
Yeah, she blorks out of the lake, and she holds aloft a shiny, shiny sword. And this dude...
She runs towards Piper with the sword, which you're not supposed to do. Don't run with swords. And she runs towards Piper, and she's like, protect the sword!
And this guy with this middle school play-ass looking shield with this dumb little squiggly insignia on the front of it throws a knife into her back, and she's like, ugh!
And she dies, and the sword goes flying. And then...
Phoebe and Paige start kung fu fighting this dude's axe-wielding minions. Like, Paige orbs the axe away from one of them and axes him in the back, and Phoebe...
Honestly, it's a pretty cool move.
Yeah. Phoebe kung fu's the axe away from the other one and
because she doesn't
him.
have an active power.
Okay, I just want to put this out there. I actually really like Phoebe's shirt.
I do too.
It's this kind of flowy, it's like half shirt, half nightgown sort of. It's surprisingly cute. I feel like I should mention it because we spent a lot of time shitting on Phoebe's outfits. I also like that Piper and Paige are just wearing like normal shirts and pants because they were just around the house.
Yeah.
Like, that's nice. That's nice environmental storytelling there. Phoebe is dressed up because she has a computer date, and they are not dressed up because they were respectively having sex and doing house repairs.
Now, since you are going to point out how much you liked Phoebe's shirt,
Yeah.
I would like to point out that the props, the axes, and the shield look like they are made out of cardboard.
Oh my god, they're so cheap looking. Like, and I mean, this is Charmed. I feel like we don't have super high standards for stuff,
I
but
mean,
like...
they're only on screen for a second, so I feel like I should be giving it some grace. And who knows, maybe it's an instance where they actually did use, like, metal and it looks fake because we're used to how fake things are on TV. I don't even know. It looks bad.
Yeah.
It looks bad.
So, Phoebe and Paige defeat the guy's minions. Piper tries to blow him up, but he blocks it with the shield and then teleports away. The super cardboard-looking shield with the middle school style insignia on it.
And then the Lady of the Lake looks up at Piper, says something about a sword, and then dies by turning into a puddle of water.
And
She came to life by coming out of a lake, so is she really dead, or is she just running away from the Charmed Ones?
who could blame her?
She's like, it's their problem now.
So they look at the sword embedded in the stone.
This is the first time that we, the audience, see that when the sword went flying, it embedded itself in a stone.
And Piper's like, she turns and she looks into the camera and she says, "You gotta be shitting me." It's not quite that bad, but...
It is that bad. No, you're witches. Like, accept that Excalibur is real.
It's not even the... Like, come on, this is a basic-ass thing.
Although, and you did read some Arthurian legend to prepare for this?
I didn't. I thought about it. I tweeted that I was thinking about it, but... You know, I crack open my copy of Mort to Arthur, and I'm like, you know what? Not worth it. Not worth it. Who cares?
Okay, so it's been a few decades since I took an Arthurian legend class.
Mm-hmm.
But if my memory is correct...
Don't get me wrong, I like Once and Future King, but like...
The sword Excalibur that was received from the Lady of the Lake is not the same as the sword that was in the stone.
I thought Excalibur was the sword in the stone, and the sword the Lady in the Lake gave Arthur was different. I might be conflating that, though. Because I know there are two swords. But also, I sort of get the urge to simplify them into one thing. Once Upon a Time also did this. It's like how in the original Aladdin there are two genies. There's one in the lamp and there's one in the ring. And it's like, yeah, there's a reason why, you pair that. There's a reason why Beauty doesn't have two brothers and two sisters in most adaptations of Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, quick Google is telling me that most versions do conflate them. Even in the Arthurian legends, even by the time we get to the Morte d'Arthur.
Yeah, I mean, like, these stories weren't really unified until way later. There's a lot of different versions of them. Hell, just look at Morgan Le Fay, Morgise, the other one. Like, there are, like, 4 different women with very similar names who are sometimes the same people and sometimes not.
Yeah. And, I mean, Lancelot himself was a character from French legend that was imported into the stories.
Yeah, when France...
That was some crossover fic shit that happened. Someone was like, what if this hero from French legend fucked Arthur's wife?
Yeah. France got their hands on it, and they're like, you know what? We can just slap our guy in here. Who cares? Who cares? And then it became a vital part of the legend.
Right? Yeah, sorry, I'm being overly nitpicky, but I would point out that Arthur has 2 legends of how he receives the sword, and we all just seem to gloss over that.
Mm.
I mean, I feel like Charmed is doing a fix-it-fic here, right? Like...
Let's give Charm some credit.
The Lady of the Lake held aloft the sword and then was attacked by cardboard knights, so she had to throw it into a stone.
They're doing some creative editing stuff with the shots of San Francisco.
It is weird. I feel like they have new shots and they're doing like quick blipverts of them.
Yeah, but they're also like doing some stuff in slow motion and then some stuff in fast motion, and I mean, I guess points for doing something new.
But it doesn't feel like it's to any end. It just feels like somebody got bored in the editing bay.
So we're back at the manor, and Paige has orbed the sword in the stone in the solarium and accidentally broke a table.
Hold on.
And Piper's being all pissy about it, and Richard points out, he's like, is the sword glowing? And Piper's like, no, this is the sunroom. There's just a lot of sun, and it's like, why are you being weird about this, Piper? The sword is clearly glowing. Like,
yeah, she also was refusing to acknowledge that this is Excalibur. They're like, it's Excalibur, Camelot, King Arthur, and she's like, those things aren't real.
Yeah. Paige also throws a little bit of shade because Piper's rejecting that this is the sword in the stone for no reason. And Paige is like, you're a witch who fights demons and goofy-ass dragons, which I feel like is a shot at the CGI dragon from, the Cleaners episode.
I mean, to Piper's credit, the dragon didn't come from Arthurian legend. Her son created it, so...
Yeah. So, Phoebe comes downstairs with the Book of Shadows, and she's all weirded out by Richard being there. And Paige is like, you don't have to be weird around Richard. He's a witch. He knows about magic stuff. And Phoebe is being such an asshole for no reason. She's like, I'm not really comfortable talking about magic stuff in front of Richard because of his little problem. And it's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, it makes no sense. Anyway, there's nothing about Camelot in the Book of Shadows. And Piper's like, see, I told you. Because it is well known that everything we've ever encountered has already been in the Book of Shadows.
Yeah, also, wouldn't Excalibur, like, predate the Book of Shadows by a lot?
That is the point. That's why it's not in there.
Yeah.
But the minion demons were in there because they're just generic minions.
Also, the guy who hired them, the Dark Knight, who is a dark sorcerer who's evil or whatever and is seeking power. That's his entire thing. And Richard's like, okay, I'm gonna just leave because you guys are really clearly uncomfortable with me being here.
Paige follows him out and is like, hey, can we bone again sometime? Because I had fun. And he's like, okay, but your sisters hate me. This is really awkward. And she's like, oh, it's okay. They hate me too.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah. So, oh my God, Phoebe is craning her neck around Piper so she can glare at Richard as he and Paige hug. What is her issue this episode?
I know! It's so funny, too, because let's acknowledge the fact that we haven't really gotten into, like, the secondary plot of this episode, but let's talk about the fact that there is some sort of magic force that is giving Paige temp jobs because it's like, this is what is important for the universe. Like, this is what needs the help of a charmed one. So we are going to send you out to take care of these things across the universe, right?
Yeah.
And this week, what it decides it has to do is help Paige get Phoebe to stop being such a bitch to her.
And it doesn't even work.
I mean, she does sort of come around. Like, not really, but...
So, Piper's like, okay, why don't we, why don't you make a vanquishing potion?
I'm sorry, I just need to say it again. The powers that be... Phoebe is being so awful that the powers that be are taking a break from saving innocents to try to deal with how terrible Phoebe is being. Okay, go ahead.
So, Piper asks Phoebe if she can make the vanquishing potion for this Black Knight guy. And Phoebe's like, sorry, I have to work. I don't have a new assistant yet, so it's hard for me at work. What happened to your last assistant?
I don't know. The powers that be got rid of her so they could give Paige the temp job.
I feel like we are missing an episode. I feel like a bunch of stuff in this episode would make sense if there was an episode in between these two.
Well, we don't watch ahead because we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, you know? So, who knows, maybe next week we'll be like, oh, everything makes more sense now!
I don't think so. It's the one with the baby manticore thing, and the charmed ones are like, we can't kill a baby, right? Like, even if it's a demon, can we kill a baby? Maybe we can kill a baby.
Throw it in a well.
Excuse me, it was a pit. It was a magical death pit.
Somebody, welcome to Storybook memories this week.
Yeah. So, Paige comes into the room after wishing Richard goodbye and don't worry about my sisters hating you. And Piper's like, Paige, can you make the vanquishing potion for the Black Knight, Dark Knight, whatever. And Paige is like, nope, I got one of my new temp jobs. This definitely doesn't have anything to do with Phoebe talking about needing a new assistant. Also, since all of these temp jobs are like, sent to me by the higher powers, then there's probably some destiny thing I need to do. Speaking of destiny...
Oh, I may as well try to pull the sword out of the stone. I mean, well, it's here.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's the sort of thing where you kind of have to give it a shot, right?
What is wrong with every other person that they haven't tried yet? Okay? No. You don't have a sword. You don't not try. That's like the first thing you do.
I mean, unless it's a Once Upon a Time Excalibur thing where it disintegrates you if you're the wrong person and you try to pull it out.
Okay, fair enough. I still feel like I wouldn't be able to resist trying.
Also, that's not normally part of the myth. That was something Once Upon a Time just came up with for, honestly, kind of no reason. Like, it vaporizes the one guy, and then that literally never comes up in the rest of the series.
I'm just saying that would be a trap that would very easily entrap me because I cannot think of a single scenario where I randomly see a sword sticking out of a stone and I don't try to pull it out.
Yeah. So, the Black Knight is yelling at the, I guess, recruiter who he hired the lower level demons from, because he's like, it's your fault those 3 witches showed up and the sword got stuck in the stone and they got away with it. If you had sent me better minions, then this wouldn't have happened. And the guy's like,
It was the charmed ones! Like, you know how contracts have act of God clauses in them? Force majeure? I feel like demon contracts need to have charmed one clauses in them. Like, yeah, of course we didn't do the job. There were charmed ones.
the guy asks him, well, the Black Knight's like, so, what's it going to take for you to, get me some guys who can handle the charmed ones? And the recruiter guy's like, a seat at the table. If you give me a seat at the, at the round table, then I will provide you with minions who can kill the charmed ones. Like, dude, you don't have minions who can kill the charmed ones. If they're minions, they're not going to be able to kill the charmed ones. Come on.
I mean, that is true. Oh, I don't know, though, right? It's like we talked about Buffy last week.
Yeah, just one needs to get lucky.
Just one needs to get lucky.
Although, I mean, the charmed ones are kind of functionally immortal at this point.
Yeah, they really are.
Like, was it last episode or a couple of episodes ago where Phoebe and Paige legitimately died, and then
they just got better?
Or does that happen in this episode?
Oh, actually, I think that happens in this episode.
But yeah, it's not exactly a Slayer situation, because death kind of doesn't mean anything in Charmed, unless you're Prue.
But the whole I need a seat at the table thing was really just so that we could zoom out the camera and see the dark round table that this guy is building, and it's evil because there's a pentacle on it, which really bugs me, because this show started off being like actually anchored in Wiccan practices, and now evil is being represented by a pentacle. Like,
I mean, but look at
how far have we fallen?
Look at the symbols that they try to make for themselves, though. Look, it's a triangle with a little tail. It's a pair of scissors that melted in the sun.
Really? I thought that looked like a stick figure leaning backwards and having a chest burster come out.
Oh, I could also see that. Or someone peeing in 2 different streams. A stick figure leaning back and peeing in 2 different streams.
And then the tail of a DNA coil.
Yeah.
Also, I want to point out that the evil round table, I called it the dark round table, but that's inaccurate because it's made out of pine. The least evil of woods. Oh my god. You know what?
They're not spraying for mahogany.
Evil used to have some self-respect.
So, the minion recruiter guy states, the Black Knight's plan, which is to use Excalibur to unite all evil under one banner. Because, as we've seen, as we've seen throughout the course of Charmed, evil's big problem is that, they can never work together on anything.
Sure. Why not?
I mean, come on, factions. Always with the factions. So, at Phoebe's workplace, someone who I guess is not her assistant comes in and she's like, you got more... I'm pretty sure this woman has been her assistant in previous episodes.
She absolutely has.
So she brings in a bunch of new emails, and Phoebe's like, what are these? And the woman says, well, your inbox is so full of emails that people started sending them to ours, because that many people are asking Ask Phoebe for advice.
That doesn't even make any sense. I'm sorry, that makes no sense.
How many emails do they think an inbox can take? Do they think it's like 40? Do they think it's 100?
Anyway, Phoebe better get busy because remember, she answers every single letter she receives.
Dear God. So, Phoebe's busy at work when, uh-oh, here comes Paige.
And she's like, Paige, I'm too busy. I can't deal with you right now. And Paige is like, good news, I'm your temp.
Yeah, Phoebe's like, I thought you had a new temp job. Why are you bugging me? And, Paige tells her she's the temp. And Phoebe is so pissed about this.
I mean, honestly, the dynamic is weird. Like, you don't want your little sister to be your assistant. Like, that's weird. It's a weird dynamic.
There was literally a very early episode about that where Phoebe got a temporary job at the auction house. Remember the auction house? Yeah. Remember when that was a thing?
Remember how the powers that be were going to send them on all sorts of missions of the week with the auction house, the way they do with temp jobs now?
That was such a good story engine that they did nothing with.
So, Paige is going to get Phoebe under control. She is going to help her sort her letters, and she's going to answer her stacks and stacks of interview requests.
God.
Like, there are so many of them.
She's so insightful. She's so good at...
Because she has such empathy.
Yeah.
Anyway, back at Halliwell Manor, the washing machine is failing in a cartoonish manner.
Well, maybe it's because Piper, for some reason, has a washing machine from the 50s.
Well, I assume it came with the house.
Oh, probably. Although...
Also, she's trying to fix it with a giant wrench. Like, I don't know what she's doing.
She's Fix-It Felix. She's just bang, bang, bang until it's fixed.
But, yeah, the washing machine is out of control, and the potions are boiling over. And also...
a whole bunch of fairy tale creatures have arrived to try to pull the sword from the stone to see who will be the ruler of Camelot, which, okay.
And they need Piper to do crowd control because they're not capable of doing that themselves, which here I'm on Piper's side.
They're not hip to lines.
Like, y'all came in here, you all can figure this out.
Yeah. Seriously, it's not rocket science. So, Muse is trying to pull the sword out of the stone. Fails horribly. Guy with horns.
A satyr. He's got panpipes. He's a satyr.
It's weird that they put more effort into the satyr in this episode than they did in the nymphs episode, but okay.
What are you gonna do?
So he goes to try to pull them out, to try to pull it out, and no going. There's an ogre who, oh my god, they are so dickish to the ogre here. Like, everyone just wants their chance to try to pull the sword out of the stone, but Piper is not having it. She calls Chris, and Leo orbs down, and she's like, where's Chris? And Leo's like, we're not paying Drew Fuller this week for some reason. It's very weird that Chris is not here. He tells them later that he temporarily had Chris reassigned off their account, and Piper's like, account? And Leo's like,
Also, like, why? What?
Yeah, you were angry with him at the beginning of the episode, but then you were cool with him at the end of the episode, which I guess is your thing with Chris literally every episode, so...
I mean, I guess that makes sense, because that feels like a very dad thing.
So, Leo's like, so what's going on here? And Piper's like, Swordstone. He's like, oh.
As long as we're talking about Chris, I just have to throw out a thing that I saw on TV Tropes when I was browsing it yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
It was like storylines that never panned out.
Yeah.
And they talked about how originally it was thought that Wyatt was going to, or rather Chris was going to be future Wyatt, but then
Holly Marie Combs got actually pregnant.
Right, so they switched it up, and they're like, unlike what other people thought, it was never intended that he be Cole and Phoebe's child. And I'm like, whoever wrote this entry on TV Tropes, and whatever person from Charmed they're getting this from, do not try to tell me that they had any idea at the beginning who Chris was.
Yeah.
Like, do not gaslight me. I have seen the episodes. You had no idea what you were doing with Chris.
Yeah, they could not they could not more clearly have been writing by the seat of their pants. Come on.
Right? Okay, that is all. I just had to dispute with this random TV tropes writer before we go on. Also, statistically speaking, that random TV tropes writer probably listens to us. So if it was you, then, like, respect to you. I'm sure you are also being gaslit by some charmed creator.
So, back at the office, Paige is taken charge by making the interns do everything. Which, okay. Could Phoebe not do that? Yeah.
No, she couldn't. No, I mean, literally, no. Phoebe is terrible at any aspect of the job that is not using her magical powers to trick people into thinking she knows what she's talking about. That's what I have to assume she's doing.
Also, time freeze now. As Phoebe's walking down to her office, you see an American flag sticker on the wall, and in her office, there's an American flag pillow on her couch.
Well,
just remember, this is recently post 9/11.
Mm-hmm. Well, and we've pointed out before, and we saw earlier in this episode, the one that's on the fridge.
Yeah. So, Paige has got everything all organized, so she has time to throw shade at Phoebe for her very clearly subtweeting Paige with this letter about... There's a letter this girl sent in about how she's dating a former alcoholic and her family doesn't trust him.
And apparently Phoebe's advice to this girl is you should break up with him. And Phoebe's like, I just think that you should take it slow. I mean, she should take it slow.
Jesus Christ, Phoebe.
She's the worst.
She is the worst. And Paige points out that it's clearly about her and Richard, and Phoebe's like, no, it's not about Richard.
I respect Paige for not playing the game. She's like, obviously you're doing this, and I'm not taking your bullshit.
And she points out, you hate Richard, and he can tell, and I can tell. You just tell me what your deal is with him. And Phoebe's like, I don't hate him, I just don't trust him. I don't know him very well, and he has magic powers, so... You know, obviously we're going to have to kill him at some point.
Yeah.
And...
I mean... Anyway, Leo interrupts this by orbing in and saying that Piper needs their help.
Yeah. So...
Okay. At the manor, you know, all the magical creatures are still trying to pull out the sword, and Piper is sitting in the solarium watching them do this, and it's like, I thought you had so much shit to do, Piper. Would you have time to sit and watch this? Anyway, and then Phoebe has to throw some more shade at the ogre because I guess he smells really bad.
Yeah.
So rude. So rude.
It's interesting that all the magical people who have come to pull the sword out of the stone, if they are women, they are hot women in slinky robes. If they're men, they are, you know, guys that have some sort of physical thing going on.
There's an elf.
Yeah, there's an elf, but there's like a guy with a cane, and there's a little person, and the ogre clearly has something going on face-wise.
Well, that is an actual actor who was in a few things who has giantism, so he was in a few things is like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, he does a good job. It feels weird that they have someone who has a condition and everyone's taking pot shots at him all the time. That feels weird.
Well, but they're criticizing the way he smells, presumably, Matthew McGorry, the actor, doesn't actually smell. I mean, I assume. I have no idea.
I mean, I guess it's nice that they're not making jokes about, you know, his condition, but, like, it feels like a weird choice on their part.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
And we get kind of into the thing from Hacks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's problematic that in Hollywood, in movies and television, the only roles that exist for little people are consistently magical creature roles. That's not okay. And does lead to, like, actual real world issues and like weird fetishizations that even cause like danger to people. It's a problem. It is a real problem. And, you know, they're doing it here. And then you're referencing hacks where
Deborah.
Yeah, where Deborah, the eponymous hack,
the problematic older comedian,
is hiring little people to be elves at her Christmas party. Not even at her Christmas party, just to deliver her Christmas invitations because she's stupid rich.
Yes.
And yeah, and her younger writer tells her that this is problematic, and she's like, "It's a job. I'm paying people."
Yeah, I'm paying above scale.
Yeah, so.
And Ava is like, "Look, I'm sure this is problematic. Just it's very early. Give me some time to get some coffee, and I will think about it, and I will get back to you on why this is a bad thing that you are doing."
Well, the problem is that it's a problem across the industry, right? It's a problem that these are the only roles available. If that wasn't the case, I suspect, although, you know, I can't speak for another community, but I suspect it would be less of a problem if those weren't the only roles available.
Yeah, and it feels not great that in this show it's kind of shorthand for magical creature.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel the show got...
Again, I don't want to talk over anyone. This is not my area of expertise at all.
The show did get weirdly lazy about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, just the fact that all of the mystical female creatures are just hot women in togas. Like,
I mean, I can speak to that. That's gross. But, I mean, I don't have much to say about it.
So Piper goes over to the sword, pulls it out, and she's like, "Get the fuck out of my house."
Yeah, she's like, "I'm the King of England now."
Oh my god, they're still talking about the stupid fucking ogre.
Yeah, they kick everyone else out, and then Phoebe's like, "Is it just me, or does it still smell like ogres?"
So this dude blorped into the room to declare that Piper is the Queen of Camelot when she successfully pulled the sword from the stone. And,
Yeah, he says he's Mordaunt, and he's there to train her.
Geez, this is a King Arthur story, and somebody whose first name starts with More has come. Maybe not trusting him is the thing to do. Maybe somebody should have some basic knowledge of the Arthur mythos.
Well, not Piper, because she's like, another goddamn thing I have to do.
She's like, "I don't have time to be Queen Arthur. I have to fix the sink."
Also, Mordaunt is like, no, I'm Mordaunt. Merlin is just a fairy tale. And Piper's like, "See, I told you." Like,
Also, why are you listening to this guy?
yeah, right? Literally anyone could have shown up.
Yeah. Like, he's like, "Look, Merlin wasn't real, but Camelot was, and
he says it will rise again, which has real, like, Confederate feeling to it. Definitely don't trust this guy.
Yeah, and Phoebe asks smartly, gonna give Phoebe some credit here. She's like, "So are you a wizard or a sorcerer or what?" And he's like, "No, I'm just a humble follower of the sword who happens to know a little craft. I fortunately know a little magic. It's a talent that I always have possessed." And
he also negs her potions.
Yeah.
And is like...
He summons... He's like, "Look, I have an actual vanquishing potion for him that will actually work." And Leo's like, "Aren't you not a sorcerer?" And he's like, "I know a few tricks. Come on." And nobody's like, "You know a few more tricks than the Book of Shadows?"
They all look to Phoebe. They're like, "Phoebe, what do you think?" And she's like, "I don't know. I can't read his mind." And they're like, "All right, well, I guess that was our nod to you to do something useful this session, but I guess not."
Hey, Phoebe, you have a power, right? You want to use any of your powers ever for anything useful? What? We can't use our empathy if it's not for the sole purpose of annoying other people.
Anyway, so Phoebe and Paige are going to orb away and get the ingredients because Paige knows a place. And Leo is going to go check in with the elders.
You are an elder.
What is happening?
Why are you doing this basic ass white lighter shit. Why didn't they just have Chris? Was Drew Fuller sick or something?
I should have checked the I should have checked the internet because they've got all sorts of trivia. I bet he was out for some reason.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Leo is functionally serving the elven nanny role in this episode.
yeah, making us not worried that something's going to happen to Wyatt. So he's going to orb away with Wyatt. So
Well, Piper figures out the sword thing.
Yep, now Piper is alone with Mordaunt, who summons a sword and begins to fight her, and she's able to fight back with the sword because she's got natural inclination.
Yeah. He's like, you did better than Arthur did his first time, and Piper's like, well, I'm an adult woman who's been professionally fighting demons for the past 6 years, so I would hope so.
Really? Because I feel like Arthur had more sword training by the time he had Excalibur.
It's true. Piper's big thing is mostly pointing at people.
Yeah. But he's like, let Excalibur flow through you. That doesn't sound evil.
Ugh.
So, down in the underlayer of the recruiter demon, we see the real creme de la creme demons.
Yes, the top of the line executioner demons.
And you know that these are the good guys.
Good bad guys.
Yeah, you know these...
The best bad guys.
Right, because they have red executioner helmets instead of black ones.
So one of them grabbed the... I think he's just supposed to be a dwarf.
He is a dwarf.
He does the fast running thing we see the leprechauns do, but he makes reference to being grumpy.
And he's credited as head dwarf in the credits.
Okay. So he tells them...
And he showed up during the Snow White fairy tale episode.
Yeah. So he tells them, like, they're like, okay, let's, tell me what you know of the sword or we'll kill you. And he's like, you don't have... You have no chance of getting the sword now, Piper Halliwell. Piper Halliwell pulled it out of the stone. You guys are so fucking screwed. And then he punches the executioner guy in the nards and zips off. And it's like, these are your top of the line guys, defeated by getting punched in the nards, guys.
Eh. So we see where Paige has orbed Phoebe, and it's to Richard's storeroom because his family's got a bunch of ingredients in their storeroom.
And as we know from last episode, they just all kind of left after the feud ended.
Yep.
You know, that was the only thing keeping them there.
And Phoebe's like, hey, these are a lot of evil potion ingredients, like fairy wings. And Richard's like, I didn't kill them. And Phoebe's like, then who did? And it's like, my ancestors, obviously.
Yeah, hey, what was Grams up to? You remember how Grams has a power stripping potion in the book that requires a human heart? You got any questions about that, Phoebe?
Hey, you remember how Chris showed up with those Valkyrie pendants?
Yeah, come on, Phoebe. But, you know, Richard's like, okay, I don't have to stand here for this. I'm gonna go somewhere else. And Phoebe's like, Paige, come on, he's clearly evil. Look, he has a jar full of gremlin ears. And Paige is like, why do you hate my boyfriend? And she's like, I don't hate him. I'm just projecting all of my, coal issues onto him. Like, and Phoebe's complaining. She's like, I don't trust him. Why does he have this hidden room full of magic?
Yeah, no, she refers to it as a hidden room. It's not hidden.
Yeah, it's a room. It's off the main hallway.
Hey, Max! Max, why is this closet hidden with a door? Hey, Max, how come this bedroom is hidden behind this door?
Like, what are you talking about? Like, I mean, I know...
Wait a second, Max. I see another door. Were you hiding all of outside behind this door? Anyway.
Yeah.
I really don't like Phoebe in this episode.
Yeah, Phoebe's...
For a change.
Yeah. So, Piper's sword fighting with Mordaunt, and she, totally kicks his ass, and he's like, yes, your connection to the sword is growing stronger. And she's like, you're a good teacher. And he's like, you feel the sword's power? And she's like, yes, I feel it growing inside me.
Yeah. He's like, He's like, don't worry, this sword definitely doesn't have an ego that has to be controlled or else it will take you over. It's definitely not a thing that's happening.
Weird.
It's a D&D thing.
I mean...
In D&D, you can have swords, you can have weapons that have egos, and they can overtake you. They, like, give you lots of power, but then, in this case, once you hold the sword, basically, you are just consumed with the desire to, like, conquer everything.
Seems like a bad thing for Wyatt to get later, but...
It seems appropriate, though, for what we learned about him.
Yes. So, the Black Knight and the new super cool executioners blorp in, and the Black Knight immediately clocks Martin, and he's like, oh, fuck, it's you, and Mordaunt's like, hey, Piper, kill those guys, and she's like, okay.
So, back at Richard's, they're making the potion, which requires, amongst other things, a lock of nymph hair, and Phoebe's like, I hope this isn't from anyone we know. And it's like, well, it's a lock of hair, Phoebe. So it almost certainly, I mean, I don't know under what circumstances it was obtained, but it is entirely possible that it was obtained consensually with no pain. Yeah. Like, it's a lock of hair.
You should have said that about, like, the fairy wings or
right?
the gremlin ears.
Yeah, but you know what? Phoebe doesn't make friends with gremlins or fairies, honestly, so she wouldn't say that.
The show is weirdly shitty towards fairies. One of the people we saw trying to pull the sword out of the stone was a fairy, and the ogre just kind of flicks her away.
Yeah, it got swatted by the ogre, who then called it a pest.
Rough.
Yeah. Anyway, they go to put in the final ingredient, and Richard is like, wait, no, that's really bad. It's going to explode.
Yeah, he telekinetically yoinks Phoebe out of the way, and Phoebe's like, what the fuck are you doing? And he's like, watch. And he moves from, let's be clear, not a safe enough distance away. And he, like, tosses the pinch of thing. Honestly, the explosion should be way bigger.
Yeah, because it was supposedly going to kill them.
Yeah.
Well, I guess he just threw in, like, a little pinch, and it was going to be, like, a whole bowl full.
Oh, yeah.
But this is actually what I was talking about at the beginning that I want to see more of with Richard, where he's got the skill. Like, he was just half listening to them recite the ingredients and recognized, wait, you can't mix whatever he was going to drop in with whatever they had already mixed in. So he's got, like, the skill level.
Yeah. So back in the attic, sword fighting. Mordaunt and the Black Knight get super close, and the Black Knight's like, I thought we had a deal, and Mordaunt's like, I don't need you anymore, and then he just tosses the Black Knight into Excalibur, and he's like, I thought we were friends.
And Piper manages to dispatch the executioners, and just as the fight finishes, Phoebe and Paige orb back in and are like, hey, Piper, Mordaunt is the villain. He's the bad guy.
Yeah. His name starts with Moore. Come on.
And Piper's like, oh, too late. I've been corrupted by the sword. I want to be the evil ruler of Camelot now.
Paige tries to orb Excalibur to her because it's clear that Piper's being influenced by the sword, and Piper just denies the orb.
It's actually really cool. It's very badass. She just shakes her head. She's like, don't do that again.
And then she sword teleports away with Mordaunt, and Phoebe's like, looks like the Majesty has left the building. And Her Majesty has left the building, and Paige is like, or her madness, which doesn't super make sense, but
no,
okay.
No.
This episode, honest to God, feels really half-written.
Yeah. So, back at the evil round table, Piper has changed into an outfit that will later be repurposed for,
Emma Swan's dark one.
Right? Minus the super puffy sleeves that it has now.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? Maybe Emma did have the super puffy sleeves. Anyway.
It's not a bad outfit. It's just like...
Honestly, I like the outfit. I'm just like, when did you decide to go change? I know that should be...
Does this count as a transformation? Does putting on a different outfit count as a transformation? I know it does.
Honestly, that should be my last complaint. And I really should be excited that they changed her into an outfit to be evil Piper that is not super sexualized. It is not a fan servicey outfit.
True. Although Holly Marie Combs gets a lot less of that than the other two.
I think that's because she became an executive producer first.
Also, she probably doesn't do the 10,000 sit-ups Alyssa Milano does. Because Alyssa Milano is also an executive producer, but like,
Okay, so
I'm not casting dispersions on Holly Marie Combs. She's a very beautiful, very fit woman, but they do clearly have two different body types.
mhm.
I remember Amber Benson talking about how people would come up to her and they were like, "Oh, you were that fat girl from Buffy," and she's like, I mean, I guess when I'm standing next to Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Right, yeah.
Also, weird thing to come up to someone and say, apropos of nothing.
People are wild sometimes, I swear. Anyway, Morden is all like, "Oh, welcome to Camelot. You can shape it to your image and rule over everyone." And
All will serve your every desire. And she's like, even you. And he's like, especially me.
you know, your basic temptation, whatever spiel.
They make out a little bit. It is so dispassionate.
Well, because when they're making out, it is funny. He reaches for Excalibur. He's like, "Just trying," but it moves away from him when he reaches for it.
And he's like, well, she's like, what's up? You didn't seem really that into that kiss. And he's like, we need to build your kingdom, so first we need to fill your round table with knights. And she's like, okay, I've got a few ideas. And he's like, no, let me be your counsel. And she's like, aren't I the queen? Shouldn't I be making the decisions?
Yeah, but as a queen, she needs an evil advisor who who whispers bad ideas to her.
I mean, I feel like she should have a stronger reaction to being immediately told no when she's like, you know, I know who I want to recruit.
Also, I know that you are the queen of Camelot, but you are also a charmed one. So if you are trying to get the most amount of power possible, two of the knights at your round table should absolutely be your sisters.
Oh, yeah. But he's like, no, I already have champions picked out for you, but you have to defeat them in a field of battle. And she's like, yeah, I'm a charmed one and I have Excalibur. Come on.
So back at the Halliwell Manor, Leo has returned from the Elders, and he learned that Piper is not, in fact, Queen Arthur. Instead, she is the new Lady of the Lake. That she was just supposed to
hand the sword to the true wielder of Excalibur, the ultimate power, which is the only thing that can control it, and it's Wyatt fucking Halliwell.
I mean, we don't know that yet, but yeah.
Yeah. Phoebe points out that Mordaunt's tricksy, but he's not exactly the ultimate power, and Leo's like, not yet anyway.
Paige is scrying, and has presumably been scrying for quite a while, but you know, they were in the underworld where the scrying doesn't work, and the crystal finally lands somewhere on the map because they have surfaced.
Mm-hmm.
And we see where they have surfaced in some sort of farm?
Barn. There's like a construction sign and a bale of hay and a fence.
A random place on the back lot where they can attack a demon and tell him that he needs to come be a knight.
Yeah.
But the sisters show up, and he's like, "Oh, the charmed ones! It was a trap!"
Phoebe throws the vanquishing potion at Mordaunt, and Piper just, like...
deflects it with Excalibur?
Yeah. She throws the sword and misses Phoebe, and then she makes it come back, and Mordaunt's like, that's pretty impressive, right? And the demon's like, sure, and he hits Paige and Phoebe with lightning that kills them.
Die! Their ghosts leave their bodies, and Phoebe's like, "Oh, this is a inconvenience."
Yes. Death is such an inconvenience. Also, for a round table, these chairs do not look very even. Like, some of them are undecorated, some of them have skulls. Piper's chair is the tallest and has the most skulls.
I would actually point out that that's pretty, like, interestingly symbolic, you know? That the table is round, but the chairs differ in ornamentation. Like, if I gave Charmed more credit, I would say that that is a well-done metaphor.
Yes. So... Jesus Christ. The guy, Mordaunt sits in Piper's chair and tells the 4 demons that he has gathered.
Yeah, because there needs to be 5 of them, because remember, it's a pentagram.
Yeah. He tells them to put their hands on the table, and then he sucks all of their powers out, killing them. One of these guys is a Grimlock, dude. How much power are you going to get from a fucking Grimlock? Daryl beat a Grimlock. Daryl!
Hey, mean.
So he absorbs the power from the 4 demons, and he's like, now that I have absorbed the power from these 4 random demons, I'm clearly the ultimate power.
I would point out that it doesn't seem like he needed Excalibur for that at any point. Like, Piper was standing to his side and holding Excalibur, so maybe, like, it needed to be in the vicinity, like those keys that don't actually go into the car but have to be in proximity of the car. But, like, the table with the pentagram seemed to be doing all the work. It feels like he could have sucked the power out of all of those demons without Excalibur, but...
Yeah.
I think this is part of what you meant about this episode feeling underwritten.
Yeah.
Like, somebody built a table out of a pentagram, was like, ooh, we can suck powers out of demons. Ooh, it's a round table, let's involve Excalibur. Ooh, let's make Piper the Lady of the Lake. Oh, it like a lot of stuff got thrown at the wall, but didn't get, like, structured into a story.
Yeah. Piper's like, you vanquish all of my knights, why? And he blorps Excalibur into his hands, and he's like, now that I have the ultimate demon power, you know, the sword can be mine, which...
Okay, but it's not...
Why?
It was never a matter of power.
Yeah,
like Excalibur, it's about destiny, not about power. He's like, now I have enough power, I can control Excalibur, and then Excalibur can give me more power. Like, that's...
What?
That's not what Excalibur is.
And he lets Piper know that it's white. He's like, look, now that I have enough power to temporarily control Excalibur, I can kill the true recipient of Excalibur, Wyatt Halliwell, your son, and then I'll be the ultimate power and rule everything forever. And then he stabs Piper with Excalibur.
Mm-hmm. But not before telling her that the protection that Wyatt has will not withstand Excalibur. Like, Excalibur can breach Wyatt's protection bubble. Which I also doubt. Because that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. One of the things with Excalibur, which I know they're clearly doing their own thing here, is that you can't lose, or you will win any fight you go into if you are wielding Excalibur. The thing is, you won't survive any fight you win when you have Excalibur. Like, when Arthur fought Mordred, he technically beat him, but was, fatally injured during that. Mm-hmm. So, but also, they're clearly doing their own different thing here, so whatever. Back at the manor, Phoebe and Paige are just alive again.
Yep, Leo has healed their deadness.
Yeah, like...
This is an underwritten episode, you're right.
Why did you even have them die if it didn't factor into the... Why didn't you just have them get knocked into a wall?
Yeah.
We saw their ghosts. You had to pay for the special effects for that.
They figure out that Wyatt must be King Arthur, the wielder of Excalibur. And then
Leo senses Piper's pain because she got stabbed.
Mm-hmm. And he orbs over to her. Yeah,
they leave Paige with Wyatt. Phoebe and Leo orb over to where Piper is. Leo, heals her because magic.
I will say that, like, Leo's dashing to her side feels really genuine. It's the first time in a long time that I've genuinely been like, oh, someone in this couple cares about someone else in this couple.
So, Mordaunt approaches Wyatt's pack and play, and he's like, my apologies, King Wyatt. And he stabs clearly this lump under the blanket is a baby. I better wildly stab it.
Are you familiar with babies?
Why would it be entirely under the blanket? What? But This motionless lump under the blanket is clearly a baby. Better stab it.
Anyway, all the sisters orb back in, and they're like, bet you weren't expecting us. And he's like, what are you talking about? I've still got the sword.
And Piper picks up Wyatt, like, she takes Wyatt from Paige, and she's like, Wyatt, kill him. And Wyatt orbs the sword into his little baby hand, and then he throws it into Morden, and he explodes. The baby fucking killed a guy. The baby fucking killed a guy.
What is this episode? Oh. Anyway, Piper's like, okay, now I'm gonna take my role seriously and hang on to this sword for you for the next 18 years.
Yeah, she puts it back into the stone, and she's like, okay, Paige, now why don't you just orbit, into the attic until he's old enough to, kill people with it, which clearly he's old enough to kill people with it now, but...
I mean, until he's old enough to rule Camelot. Also, we hear a crash from upstairs because Paige has destroyed something else in the attic while orbing the giant rock. Ha ha.
Literally, it's an everyone laughs ending. Everyone laughs. Piper's
laughs.
like, I guess I'll just add that to my repair list. I'm gonna make it after all.
It would be an everyone laughs freeze frame end of episode, except first we need to go back to the newspaper office so that we can wrap up this plot where
Phoebe's decided she's cool with Richard.
She says, I found another letter where this woman is worried that her mother is married an alcoholic.
And she thinks that he might be the devil incarnate. And Paige is like, didn't we vanquish the devil incarnate? Remember that time we killed your husband?
And then Phoebe's response is, I told her she shouldn't say anything to her mother unless she has absolute proof. See, I don't feel like that's the answer either.
Like, yeah. Also, maybe don't use your article to, like, passive-aggressively send messages to your sister. Or passive non-aggressively, I guess, in the second case.
Aggressively? So basically, like, what she said about Richard is, I still think he's evil and a bad dude, but I won't say anything until I have proof that he's evil.
Yay.
But that's not a good answer either. Like, the correct answer, in my opinion, is actually something more like, I trust and support your decisions, and I want you to hear my concerns, but I understand that you are going into this with your eyes open, and I want you to know that I'm here to support you if you need me, no matter what.
Instead, she's like, Paige, you're fired. And Paige is like, haha, fuck you, I quit. And then we get this other shot, we get a nighttime establishing shot of San Francisco for some reason before going back to the manor. I have no idea why this shot's here.
I'm to establish that it's that same evening, I think. But we have this moment where Piper's like, Wyatt, I just want you to have a normal life. I don't want you to have to be the king of England. I want you to play baseball with other little boys who are not witches.
And, we can have a dog and other stuff. And Leo comes into the room and he's like, hey, Piper, what you doing? And she's like, I'm thinking about, I was trying to have a normal life, but I realized all I wanted to do was spend time with my baby. And Leo's like, well, you have a lot more time for that because I fixed everything. And Piper's like, I forgot how handy it is having a handyman around the house. And Leo's like, why did we break up if I'm still doing all the stuff I did when we were married? I'm sorry, I know we mention it every episode. It's weird to we need to stop harping on it this much, but like, why are they not together exactly? They seem like they're still a couple. I mean, they're fighting slightly less than they were when they were together, but...
Right. Well, I mean, my big problem with Piper, and it's very evident this season, my big problem with Piper is that her complaint about not getting to live a normal life, like in this episode, is a normal life. Oh no, I have to deal with being a mom and I also have to fix the sink. Like, oh no, Piper, if only you weren't a witch, that wouldn't be an issue. Like,
We're pretty far into this season and Magic School hasn't come up yet.
Magic School is not going to come up until episode 14 of this season.
Jesus, it's such a big part of the second half and finale. It's weird how late it comes in.
It is true. Well, that's the end of the episode.
Yeah, this was neither fun nor... This wasn't fun, bad, nor actually good. It's fine. It's fine. You could totally skip it. It's fine.
The next episode we're going to talk about, though, is Little Monsters. And
oh, boy.
The Peacock description says, after vanquishing a demon, the sisters become foster parents to its orphaned half-manticore infant.
There's some fun stuff in this episode. This is the episode where the Charmed Ones have to figure out whether or not they want to kill a baby.
Hey, but don't worry, we're 2 episodes away from Witch Stock.
Ooh. Oh, yeah, I'm ready for Witch Stock. Alright, much like the Charmed Ones, we have our own power of 3. The first power in our pack is Premonition. Who in this episode is, was, or will become famous? I had no one.
Well, so Matthew McGorry.
Oh. Yeah.
Who I mentioned earlier, who played the ogre, I felt like he was in a lot of stuff at this particular time.
Wasn't he in an episode of Baywatch?
Was he in an episode of Baywatch? He was in an episode of Malcolm in the Middle. He was in the thing that I recognized him from was Big Fish. He was Carl the Giant in Big Fish. But I felt like he was around a lot back in this time, but looking at his IMDb, he really wasn't in all that much. He was in the Constantine movie, Devil's Rejects. Yeah. He was in Carnival. He was in Men in Black 2. But
oh yeah, I remember that scene.
I also wanted to bring up Danielle Bizzuti.
Okay.
Who was the Lady of the Lake, but is also the voice of Freya in the God of War franchise. I just thought that was fun.
Huh.
Yeah.
And good for her working consistently.
Yeah, she does a lot of voice work. Anyway, I just thought that was like... I liked the kind of... You know, we were doing all the magical creatures this week.
Yeah.
I liked the magical creature crossover.
The second power in our pack is Time Freeze. What specifically dated this episode? I have 2 things.
Okay, go ahead.
1, the American flags. Not new, but, you know, notable.
Wait, let me say mine before you say your second, because it might be the same.
Okay.
Phoebe's email being full.
That was my other one.
What?
I can't imagine a universe where your email could ever be full.
I mean, I guess it could happen back then. Like, if it was a Bay Mirror email, like, maybe the storage was teeny tiny.
Yeah, I guess. All weekly. Mm-hmm. Although she's apparently rich and famous off of this, so who knows.
Right.
But yeah, email being full seems like a very era-specific.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
And that will bring us to the final power in our pack, telekinesis. What, if anything, genuinely moved you? I'm going to say nothing. This is the power we use the least, I think.
I know, right? Yeah, nothing moved me this episode, I'm afraid.
All right, so I think that'll about do it.
I think that will do it. Our show is partially listener-supported. If you want to be one of those supporters, you should head over to our website, www.welcometotelevision.net, and click on our Patreon link. We'd like to thank our current $5 and above patrons: Beryl, Patricia, Rosa, Ryan, Maricruz, Benjamin, Kate, Jen, Dan, Anthony, and Daniel.
If you'd like to support the show in other ways, you could always rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. It helps other people find the show.
If you want to talk about this episode, or any episode of any television show, you can email us at ilovetelevisionzines@gmail.com, or you can find us on Blue Sky at Welcome to Television.
So until next time, I'm Max.
And I'm Tina.
And this has been Welcome to the Halliwell Manor.